Today, we view the SEC and Big Ten football conferences as the most dominant conferences in all of college football. While some may think the SEC has the most football national titles with their 39, there's actually a conference with more, and you probably won't be able to guess which conference that is. I'm going to give you a second to think about it. That conference is the Ivy League Football Conference with over 50 national titles in football. The Ivy League is a conference that has been forgotten among the greats, but it is a conference that gives us a glimpse of what college football used to be. A little snapshot into the past. Before television money guided decisions, before regional rivalries were decimated by college realignment. This is the history of Ivy League football, the most historically dominant football conference of all time. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'm planning to release multiple videos a week this season. Also, let me know which college football conference you want me to cover next in the comments section below. Ivy League football dates back to the origins of college football in the United States. Everyone knows that Rutgers played in the first college football game ever in New Jersey, but not many talk about the team they played against, Princeton. The New Jersey rivals faced off to finish a thrilling game 6-4. Granted, the game looked much different back then. The ball could only be thrown backwards, teams had 3 downs to make 5 yards, the field was 110 yards long, and a touchdown was worth 4 points. Players did not wear any protective equipment, and it was more akin to rugby than what we know today as football. The 8 Ivy League schools are Brown, Columbia, Cornell, Dartmouth, Harvard, Penn, Princeton, and Yale. The first formal athletic league involving eventual Ivy League schools was created in 1870 with the formation of the Rowing Association of American Colleges. The RAC hosted a de facto national championship in rowing during the period of 1870 to 1894. In 1881, Penn, Harvard, Haverford College, Princeton College, then known as the College of New Jersey, and Columbia College formed the Intercollegiate Cricket Association. In football, Walter Camp coached Yale to a 67-2 record and 3 national titles from 1888 to 1892. The first Harvard vs. Yale football matchup was played in Springfield, Massachusetts in 1894, where revenues from the game were estimated to be close to $119,000 or close to $2 million in today's money. In 1895, Cornell, Columbia, and Penn founded the Intercollegiate Rowing Association, which remains the oldest collegiate athletic organizing body in the U.S. From 1869 to 1926, the Ivy League won 51 national championships by Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, Cornell, Princeton, and Pennsylvania. From 1900 to 1925, the Ivy League football teams won 20 national titles. This all predating the beginning of the conference. When the Ivy League Athletic Conference was formed, the original teams were Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and a 4th team. To this day, there is no agreement as to whether the 4th team was Penn or Columbia, and the term Ivy League, coined by a sports writer in 1935, is sometimes erroneously said to refer not to the ivy on the buildings, but to the Roman numeral IV for the 4 universities. Before the formal creation of the league, there was an unwritten and unspoken agreement among certain Eastern colleges on athletic relations. The earliest reference to the Ivy League colleges came in 1933 when Stanley Woodward of the New York Herald Tribune used it to refer to the 8 current members plus Army. During the early origins of football, Princeton and Yale dominated in the 19th century and ultimately combined for 55 national championships according to the Cornell Sun. The only school in the Ivy League that does not claim a national championship in football is Brown. The last national championship for the Ivy League schools came in 1939 when Cornell won the title. In 1945, the 8 Ivy League presidents signed on to the Ivy Group Agreement, which set the standards for schools' football programs, including the provision of prohibiting athletic scholarships. The agreement reads, "The members of the group reaffirm their prohibition of athletic scholarships. Athletes shall be admitted as students and awarded financial aid only on the basis of the same academic standards and economic needs as are applied to all other students." This agreement would be extended to all sports in 1954. While the Ivy League offered unparalleled educational opportunities, other universities offered actual scholarships and also served as a more reliable pipeline into the National Football League. The final nail in the coffin for the Ivy League schools to ever return to national dominance occurred in 1981, when the NCAA set criteria on home attendance and seating capacity, which 4 teams in the Ivy League could not meet. In 1982, the Ivy League considered adding 2 new member schools, looking at Army, Navy, and Northwestern to try to stay at the FBS college football level, but would instead decide to move down to the recently formed Division I AA level, now known as the FCS. Since then, the Ivy League has completely dropped off the radar when it comes to being known as a powerhouse football conference. The Ivy League schools like to be different when it comes to other Division I football programs. They start their season later than everyone else. For example, we are now heading into week 3 of the college football season, with some teams going to their 4th matchup of the year due to playing in week 0. And the Ivy League is just kicking off their opening weekend this weekend. The Ivy views it as everyone starting early compared to them starting late. Billy Witz from the New York Times wrote back in 2019, "Consider that when Notre Dame won the national championship in 1973, the Irish played their first game on September 22nd, which, like Saturday, would have qualified as autumn. While some teams' college football seasons last nearly 6 months, the Ivy League season lasts 10 weeks, ending before the Saturday before Thanksgiving and starting 9 weeks before that with no byes. They play a 7-game conference schedule with 3 non-conference games. While many teams in college football try to maximize their revenue in television dollars, the Ivy League refuses. The league signed a 10-year television deal back in 2018 with ESPN, and since then the network has prodded the league to start earlier and play midweek games. The Ivy has refused. Robin Harris, the Ivy League executive director, told the New York Times back in 2019, "We definitely are very philosophically driven, so there has to be a rationale where a change truly benefits the student athletes. The later start provides coaches to spread out their practices before the season, which allows players to have summer internships to accelerate their careers after football." Witz goes on to write, "Reticence over a longer season and heightened awareness of football-related brain injuries explain why the Ivy League presidents have shown no inclination towards allowing their teams to participate in the football championship subdivision playoffs, even as coaches and players largely support it. It should be noted as well that the Ivy League has banned tackling during in-season practices since 2016. To talk more about why Ivy League teams don't play in the FCS playoffs, I want to welcome to Luke's, who runs an amazing channel talking about the history of different college football conferences.
Despite being such a historically successful football conference, the Ivy League doesn't send their conference champion to the FCS football playoffs. They're not the only ones. The SWAC and MEAC don't either, but they send their conference champs to play each other in the Celebration Bowl. The Ivy's reasons are mostly academic. The 1945 decree Ivy League presidents signed not to give athletes scholarships put athletics way below education in importance for the universities, and the tradition the conference is steeped in will likely prevent them from making any changes in the near future. In a 2019 article by the Middletown Press, Ivy League executive Robin Harris noted that the primary reasoning is that there's also a concern among Ivy League higher-ups on how the playoffs extended to December and January, and that extension would hurt Ivy students studying for final exams or preparations for what happens after they graduate. So long story short, they like the tradition and the academics where they are now, and think playing longer past their season's end would severely hurt the education their student-athletes receive.
Just because they don't offer scholarships and don't play in the FCS playoffs does not mean that Ivy League football is bad at all. As of 2019, there were 22 Ivy League players on NFL rosters at the start of the season, including 8 from Harvard, the most of any FCS school, and 1 more than Baylor, an FBS team. Princeton and Dartmouth also finished 9th and 15th in the 2018 FCS Top 25. In 2019, they went 6-2 in non-conference play, with Penn falling short by 1 point to Delaware. Historically, the Ivy League Football Conference is one of the most dominant conferences in football history, by all due respect swayed by their early success. It is a brand that provides many opportunities within and outside the game of football, and sets its players up for the rest of their lives, even though it does not provide athletic scholarships. In a time when many college football commissioners and presidents are swayed by the dollar, the Ivy League is a conference that takes the message the NCAA spews of protecting student athletes, and that these are students first and athletes second to heart. They are the quintessential college football conference. A reminder of what the game used to be. What do you think of the Ivy League Football Conference? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you again to Deluxe for joining me today, and make sure to check out his channel in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe for more college football content. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.